I am today an advocate of polycentrism, which this talk is about. We struggle to understand cities. The old explanation do not seem to tell the whole story. Consider high-rise towers. We were until recently taught that high-rise buildings were, economically speaking, responses to high land values. But all that has been turned on its head, and we compete to build landmark high towers in order to create high land values. The inversion is now the course of a well-established trick of urban development. So around the iconic tower, we plan nodes of development to enhance the visibility of certain location. Polycentrism is the purpose and the consequence. This is certainly the case in Jeddah, where the next world's tallest tower is intended to inform a new node of development, 147 million square feet of master planned real estate on a land that is located on the Red Sea, away beyond the old center. I would like, therefore, to move the discussion on a little. What part do these nodes of development, non-organic center, play in urban development? What is the significance of polycentrism? The phenomenon of many centers or nodes or poles of attraction, or simply areas of distinct character which occur in cities. Let's have a historic background. There are innumerable good reasons why mankind clusters in city. It's practically an evolutionary imperative. And once there, clusters again in families and settled tribes, and again by trades and classes and sects. Left to its own devices, mankind will create an organic warren of habitation, like old Damascus. Cities begin, as Damascus did, on a hillside, the Barada River, because of some benign aspect of geography. This might be a port or a river crossing, or some defensible place. And then they grow outwards organically with all the twists and turns of history, invariably ruled by someone. Infrastructures develop, often constrained by what went there before, and almost like a living organism, centers of different character and functions emerge. Rule and regulations are essential. Laws are what make cities work. Just or unjust, equitable or otherwise, a city without law soon falls apart. Laws and customs and culture comprise the soft infrastructures which sustain the organism. And there is also an ancient tradition of physical planning in cities, by which the powers that be impose a geometry, almost invariably a grid, the basis of hard infrastructure. But this is not about geometry and physical infrastructure so much as function, which needs all the systems of governance, which we might call soft infrastructures, interacting with all the ingenuity of the engineered or hard infrastructures. And at the present time, information technology is causing immense disruption to everything. Hard is becoming soft, location, dare we admit it, is disappearing in the cloud. Cities cannot function and mankind cannot live without viable hard and soft infrastructures. This discussion is about polycentrism, although it is clearly a basket definition and contains many different ideas. What does polycentric urbanism mean? Is it a good thing or a bad thing? Does it necessarily have a physical form, or can it be a network of communications and information? Is it reversible? In the modern era, central business districts have tended to obliterate or occupy the ancient centers. Road, rail, and even air transport, and now IT, allow the growth of suburbs and commuting. In the process, poles of attraction with differing functions spontaneously emerge. Paris once had its faubourg, where newly arrived tradesmen excluded by the guilds set up workshops outside the city walls. Arab cities have their souks. There is nothing at all new about clustering. The globalized world has relocated industry and pre-container seaport to new faceless but efficient locations. And post-industrial cities have emerged which inhabits and regenerate the legacy urban grids and infrastructure left behind. Now these are new dynamic centers for IT industry, design houses, and fashion, etc. They are simultaneously desirable places to live, all mixed up with restaurants and clubs. Tourists appear with their spending power. Hotels become viable. Transport links are inserted. A buzz of desirability emerges. This gives cities an interesting and unexpected new function. They have become residential resorts. This would not have been imaginable in early times. Consequence to this phenomenon, a global urban tourism, new cities, are being constructed from the outset at resort. Dubai is a prime example. Singapore has its new attraction, and Beirut has long been a resort alongside other uses. In the city as a resort, we see alongside conservation of old fabric and regeneration of old center, grand new architectural form, climate-defying malls and gravity-defying towers, landscape boulevard and park filled with entertainments and fine quartiers. The upscale downtowns of a new way of life emerge. I confess I have made a profession of building them, and in the process, I and my team have mapped out workloads for a generation of architects and engineers. And yet, all is not well. Outside the resort city center, the everyday functions of urban life goes on. Not everywhere is as lovely as the resort center, but there too life is changing. It is rare that infrastructure keep up with demand or can be shaped quickly enough to meet demands. There are issues which underlie the crisis in the Arab world and all the world. Even greater changes are coming. Our ingenuity is being challenged like never before, and all in the context of climate change and environmental degradation, which are unintended effects of wealth and growth. So I am well aware that a healthy core is not only part of a city, and where such a core is new or newly built, it is only one focal point among many. Almost all cities are in fact polycentric, tied together by network of both hard infrastructure, the utilities, networks, highways, and power supply system, and the soft infrastructure, the laws and culture. So how good are cities at providing mankind with a life-enhancing habitat? How can we measure how they are doing? There is a similarity amongst the cities at the top of the desirability chart. They tend to be mid-sized, from 500,000 to 4 million, locating in wealthy countries, which have relatively low population density, Vienna, Melbourne. They offer recreational activity extending into accessible countryside, good governance, high rates of employment, and adequate infrastructure. The megacities, Paris, New York, London, all around 10 million, struggle with demand and do not feature amongst the most desirable, although they continue to be targets of immigration. And in addition, there are the hypercity around 20 million, Cairo, Shanghai, Mexico City, and Mumbai. The quality of life in the hypercities is poorer than in smaller ones. The weakest and most vulnerable of cities suffer a multitude of deficiencies. They have very slight ability to allow nodes of positive improvement to crystallize. Hypercities are bad for your health. It is therefore follows that polycentrism, when given a viable physical reality, is a very good thing. If we can somehow get the megacities and hypercities to function polycentrally with governance and localized amenity, they may be more efficient and more sustainable. But planned polycentrism is not without its dangers. New towns and banlieues come with warnings attached. They breed alienation. The solution is organizational, to do with soft infrastructure as much as engineered interventions. Here, politics enter planning, and I leave this issue open to discussion. Onwards from Beirut. My experience is a specific type of large-scale master plan urbanization. I have usually been involved in the creation, regeneration of central districts. Once upon a time, such places would have been called central business district, but now they are central residential resort districts with a rich mix of uses, residential, retail, entertainment, hospitality, and offices. They incorporate multimodal transportation strategies. They take advantage of the best in building technology and give opportunity for the best in engineering and architectural talent. They offer higher density, they generate employment and foster an innovative atmosphere. They are purposeful and convivial. The public domain is professionally designed and landscaped, and building design is guided by master developer, acting in effect as own planner. We know that such places attract energetic and innovative people to live and to work, and the challenge is to make them not only attractive, but affordable to young people and enterprises. So my hometown, Beirut, the city of Beirut, at around 1.5 million, could sustain five-centrism, and it does. Beirut is a polycentric city for reason of long history on religion and sectarian grounds. It seems almost impolite to mention it, but West Beirut, the Sunni neighborhood, Ashrafi, the Christian neighborhood, the Shiite Dahi, and the Armenian Burj Hammoud, each contain almost all the amenities of daily life, including a rich and highly differentiated cultural offering. The only multifunctional area in the city is the ancient downtown known as Solidaire, which we rebuilt, a regenerated city center. It could be said to be upmarket, the melting pot of all. Solidaire adopted a judicious mix of international standards and was given special local dispensations. So in Solidaire, 5 civilizations, 5,000 years of archaeology have been given due cultural value and incorporated in the cityscape, with state-of-the-art infrastructure, signature gardens, and public open spaces, and a seafront corniche with breathtaking views. Solidaire refurbished 248 buildings from the 19th and 20th centuries, restored Ottoman and French architecture, formed the regenerated office, residential, and high street shopping of the city, along with state-of-the-art intelligent office space, residential buildings, and hotels designed by the world's most renowned architects of our time. The Beirut Souks, an open-air pedestrian shopping mall with climate-tempered natural ventilation, has been rebuilt to its original 100-year-old grid and spirit. Let's talk about Jeddah. Jeddah, the city of Jeddah, will become polycentric, in fact, when the bolus of master plan intervention will be actually built over the course of the next decades. It will come about as a result of a very ambitious private and public initiatives. The city of Jeddah is a portual city, a place of very traditional culture, which finds itself at a time of step change. It has an ancient, vernacular old city center, ingeniously climate-tempered, both functional and decorative. But Jeddah became fugitive from itself and spread over 40 kilometers northwards. It hugs the coastline 10 kilometers wide on a highway grid which dices the city into separated districts which cannot be walked one to another. Jeddah is not featureless. It is polycentric in its own way. This includes clustered districts between highways such as Palestine area, Hamra area, Tahliya, Basatin, and the beautifully refurbished long seafront corniche. With a few exceptions, these are main drag type locations. The old city is in the south, the old airport site is under development, and there are numerous large gated exclusive residential development. The real poles of attraction are the retail strips and shopping mall. They attract huge footfall, and people go there night after night to eat, take coffee, or to stroll in an air-conditioned environment to meet family and friends. In each district, service roads of the main highway became the retail destination, the location, and the hinterlands became the residential quarters, in which villas house multi-generational family in a landscape with basic public amenity. Each villa has high boundary walls for reason of privacy. The cooling breezes blow from the north. People have followed the trend and moved ever further northwards. The south is industrial, the west is the sea, and the east is the desert. But the real positive change came with the Vision 2030. The lifestyle requirements of 70% of the Saudi population under 30 years old is in play. With subsidies reduced on water, electricity, and petrol, mixed-use live, work, play center are the future. Apartment living will prevail. My most recent experience in the new city is the new city at North Abhor in Jeddah. Beirut Center and Jeddah project were both master planned, but that is where the similarities end. The two schemes came about in very different circumstances. When we designed Jeddah Economic City in 2013, we were ahead of the trend because we had an ambition for a new city at the North Abhor. We conceived this as not only the new center of Jeddah, but also a smart, environmentally friendly resort-like, a mixed-use city to meet the expectation of young Saudis and offer an advanced quality of life. We have used the best urban planners, the best architects and engineers, many are in this room today, and we have designed a walkable cityscape with high-quality infrastructures and landscape public domain, with guidelines for secondary developers, which will create a coordinated, harmonious city center, associated public transport and landscape of towers, with a landscape of tower will foster a new, enjoyable, and affordable habitation. Offices for larger companies and for small, medium enterprises will establish the business components of the city. Visitors will be attracted to the hotels, the super regional shopping mall, and the animated water body for leisure and entertainment. There will be cultural components, educational offerings, and public amenities. The project will offer more than 30,000 jobs, just in phase one. And Jeddah's economic city anchor is the spectacular 1 kilometer plus high tower, the tallest in the world, the greatest by all standards, courtesy of Adrian Smith's Gordon Gill. So to recap on Jeddah, there will come about a transformation in the way people live. We believe greatly for the better. In addition, the city of Jeddah appears to becoming spontaneously polycentric. Other centers in Jeddah are emerging, all mega projects, and each widely dispersed. This includes the Amar Midtown Jeddah project, will anchor the city in the Mideast section. The Public Investment Fund project, which will anchor the project from the Midwest section. The south of the airport city. And our project, Jeddah Economic City, the greatest node of all, will be the new anchor of North Jeddah. If and when all the centers achieve maturity, it will definitely decelerate the speed of the growth of the city towards the north. There will be a long period of consolidation in and around the centers. And at this point, it becomes necessary to mention Dubai. Dubai's importance as a new urban phenomenon is huge. It is a purpose-built resort city. Is Dubai predominantly polycentric? I would say yes. Each of the developments initiatives have spectacular architecture and almost all are resort-like offerings. None is large or focused enough with its own, except perhaps downtown Dubai, to have the character of a polyfunctional node. There lies the problem and the solution. To get from one place to another in Dubai, long road journeys are necessary. So one can organize his life in one of the centers recently linked together by the heroic efforts that have been made to install the metro lines and buses. These are lessons that we must continue to learn. To conclude, polycentrism may be a very good way to render large cities livable. But getting hard and soft infrastructure right is not a matter of conventional wisdom. Some rules apply. Firstly, let your center be multifunctional, right size, several hundred thousand inhabitants is ideal. Occupying a rich mix of sustainable employment niches, mix it up all, go slowly. Give early partner a chance to do well, build the momentum. Secondly, yes, engineering infrastructure help, but never leave it to the engineers in isolation to apply legacy standards. They will tend to oversize everything. American highway standards have no place in cities. Forests of tower need access, circulation, space, and parking. Public transportation must be multimodal. Thirdly, make it walkable. Walkable is key for spending money on public spaces and making developers join up their development. Fourthly, allow human ingenuity to flourish. Fifth, green is the future. Energy consumption is the indicator of climate change. Sustainable and environmentally friendly projects will prevail. I'll leave you with this thought. There is an opposite trend happening today. People flee the city towards the countryside for peace and quiet and a healthier, better quality of life. The internet, communication, video conferencing, e-commerce, e-banking, e-government are all assisting dispersion. Technology has now reached a stage where that is possible. Thank you.